What?
I've never had that happen. All right, yeah. Welcome to Strictly Hockey. I'm Jacob Brown, joined here with Steve Cashin and Adam Kupferman. Just had the weirdest intro from Zoom I've ever seen, but whatever. That's cool. CJ Ure is going to be jumping in at the late part of the pod. Some people are waiting for that. We've got two Lightning fans and a Panther fan here, and quite frankly, I'll probably just sit back and watch at that point, but we'll see. That playoff series is great. We're going to wait to talk about it, though. We've got a few other series before that. Capitals and Bruins, Islanders and Penguins, Wild Golden Knights also played. Those were some great series. We're going to start talking about those first. But actually, before we talk about those, I wanted to talk about the really important regular season games that are still being played. I was glued to my TV watching Canucks and Oilers the other night, Flames Canucks. Were you guys watching those? I mean, great games.
I was glued. Couldn't take my eyes off.
Joke. It's a joke how this league is letting these guys play. Like, there are prime games on right now, like during the day, and they got to mix in Canucks and Flames, game 55 of the regular season. Like, it's just I don't understand what they're doing there, but I have not paid attention whatsoever. But good for the Flames or for winning the other day, 6-5 in overtime. What a thriller!
Yeah, give up a 5-1 lead.
Jeez,
are you serious? Wow. Hey,
yeah, Flames are up 5-1. Vancouver scored four third period goals, only to lose in overtime. Like, that's what happens when AHL rosters play each other.
Yeah, that's very true. Just like in the final regular season games with Tampa and Florida. But let's look at the first playoff game of the year. Washington Capitals beat the Boston Bruins 3-2 in overtime. It was a great game. Dowd got the deflection OT goal. Everyone thought it was Oshie at first and ended up being Dowd on the deflection. To be honest, I didn't get to watch much of this game because I just want to tell you guys, I started door dashing in this area. I made $100 in 3 hours. It was great. So I couldn't watch the game, but saw the highlights. Listen, Washington was the number one seed for a reason. It's one game, though. Okay. Wait, they weren't the one seed. That's totally my bad. Thank you for the face there, Adam. But
inaccurate reporting here.
Oh, shit. Yeah. I have a knack for that, I guess. I'm a bad reporter. But, Capitals, they came in, they won. They were the better team than the Bruins all year. Here's the thing with the Boston Bruins. Outside of their core, what are you getting offensively? Not much. And I think they struggle when they can't get the big guys going. They couldn't even get to Craig Anderson when Samsonov came out of the game with injury. We still don't know what's up with that because game 2, Samsonov is still out. It's going to be Craig Anderson again. So Washington at home, I think if you're Boston, you got to be thinking we got to come out with a split and go home happy. But Washington, we can get a 2-0 lead here going into Boston. We have some wiggle room and some security here. And I think they can do it because, again, I think that they were the better team all year for a reason. Boston is very inconsistent out of the top scorers. If they're shut down, it's kind of over. Even though it was a one-goal game, it was OT, it was close. I still think a lot of these games are going to be played the same way. But can Craig Anderson sustain this more than one game? We'll see. So Boston, honestly, if you lose to Craig Anderson twice, I'm not saying Craig Anderson's a bad goalie. He's had a good run, but lately he hasn't been the Craig Anderson of old. So if you can't beat him once, you're losing yourself there.
Yeah. I mean, I think that first game was a thriller. I mean, in terms of how big of a hockey fan you are, tight checking, low scoring first game goes to overtime. I mean, it had everything you wanted in it. I mean, big hits. I don't know if y'all caught the beginning of it. Ovechkin ran over David Krejci and just absolutely just mopped him. It set the tone of the game. And Tom Wilson scores the opening goal. The Capitals are buzzing. I mean, they, like you said, Jacob, they were the number 2 seed. They were favored going into the season for a reason. They play good defense in front of their goaltender. Vanacek went down, I think, I'm looking at here, 10 minutes into the game, just about roughly.
Oh, and Vanacek, not Samsonov. That's my bad.
Yeah, so Samsonov just got back on the ice the other day, along with Kuznetsov. But yeah, I mean, I think the Capitals played the perfect game, kept it close, especially with their goaltender going down. And Anderson played the part. 21 saves out of 22 shots. They did everything that they needed to do to win this game. Ultimately got the bounce at the end, but I think this series is going to play tight checking. You're going to see the same scores every night, I feel like, unless the team really, Washington keeps pouring it on. But you're going to see more games like this, and it's going to be a thriller to the end.
Yeah. Two things I took out of that game is one, when your starter goes down like that, especially in a playoff game, teams kind of lock up defensively. And I think you saw that. I mean, the first goal Boston scores, he's, Vitacek is hurt at that point, so you can't really blame anyone on that. And then, Anderson comes in for probably a full game, including overtime. He lets in one goal. It's a power play goal, not much you can do on it.
It's goal too.
Through. Yeah, squeak through. I thought Washington really played well defensively down the stretch, and the physicality. We know Boston and Washington, they like to throw the body. They're big teams. That's Boston's identity for sure, is that they're a physical team. But they put up a stat midway through the first that said Washington's season average was 16 hits, and they had 23 in the first period alone. And I thought that set the tone early for them. And that if Boston wanted to beat them, they're going to have to get in the areas, and they're going to have to take a hit to make a play and get in the dirty areas. So I thought Washington set a good tone. I'm interested to see how they respond to Anderson in game 2. Are they going to keep playing well defensively, or are they going to kind of get laxed and let a few squeak through? For Boston, I think Taylor Hall's got to get going. His feet were moving. I thought he had a good game. He just didn't get on the score sheet. I think if Boston's going to have any chance in the series, they're going to have to get that secondary scoring away from Marchand, Bergeron, Pasternak. And I think the Hall-Krejci line, that's where it starts at.
I completely agree there. You got to get your depth going, period. It's Taylor Hall and everyone else too, because you can't just rely on 3 guys. It's not going to work that way. But again, Boston, even more so than Washington, really, they've been in the playoffs every single year. And, we always say it, teams know when to turn it on and turn it off, but so does Washington. They won a Stanley Cup. Most of this group is intact. Both of these teams kind of have that skill, so it kind of cancels out for me. So right now it's about talent, size, skill, physicality. Washington seems to be a little bit of a step ahead over Boston, at least right now. And, again, I don't think this is going to be a 5-game series. I think Boston's going to take some at home 100%, probably 2 out of those 3 games. Boston's going to take it home. So I think this is going to end up being 6 or 7. Still, though, great game 1 and a lot of games going to OT, because this next one did as well. So did Minnesota and Vegas. And the Islanders beat the Penguins 4-3 in game 1. This game was really interesting because every single time you want to keep the Islanders out and you want to put them down and you want to say, they might not have enough anymore. They're not playing well, blah, blah, blah. Come playoff time, this team is ready. Barry Trotz gets these guys ready. They are structured. They are incredibly physical. Every time the Penguins try to do something, there were 2-3 Islanders on every Penguin. They do a great job of blocking up the neutral zone. They're a great checking team, and they're very good physically as well. So the Islanders, that's what they do in the playoffs. They lock down defensively. They'll get in those 1-goal games and say, you know what, we'll get those bounces because at least we know we're restricting opportunities for Pittsburgh, which is what they did. They did it against Crosby. Now, Crosby had a goal, which was great, and CJ's actually about to jump in the room right here. So I think that Pittsburgh well, actually, you know what? Let me just put CJ in. Okay.
Sheesh.
All right.
Yay.
All right, we're waiting.
What's going on?
Oh, there he is.
He's
Okay.
in. Now he's in.
There you go.
How we doing,
good.
CJ?
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, we were just talking about Islanders and Penguins, and I was just saying how the Islanders, every time you want to count them out, they're in the game. They come right back in. It's because of Barry Trotz. He keeps them structured. They're physical. They don't let teams have space. Now, I also think that Malkin being out definitely hurts Pittsburgh. Getting him back will make amends for a lot of the things that the Penguins were struggling with. I think goaltending wise, Pittsburgh's going to be a little shaky. But the Islanders might be as well, because you have a very inexperienced guy in Sorokin. Who knows how long Varlamov is going to be out. So that worries me a little bit about the Islanders. But he went on the road game 1 with fans and was able to beat Pittsburgh. We'll see what happens for the rest of the series, but it was a great thing to start off. So what did you think, CJ, about that opening game 1?
Are we cursing on this pod?
Yeah.
Dude, fuck the Islanders. I fucking hate the Islanders. They are so annoying. They're the least skilled hockey team I've ever seen in my life. And like some of the goals that they score, I'm like, how? Like I just watched some goalies play against them, and I'm like, do you forget all your skills? Like Tristan Yari let in 2 meatballs go into the net. I'm like, dude, the first Palmieri goal, he shot from so far out, and he just ducked. Tristan Yari ducked on 2 goals. Dude, the Penguins played well enough to win that game. I also bet the Penguins, so I'm also annoyed, but it's just bullshit, dude. I just watched that. Like, dude, the Islanders guys, like the whole team is like has gray hair and gray beards. I'm like, put these guys in a fucking home.
Yeah, Andy Green's got a gray beard and he's bald as a Q-tip.
Yeah,
Fucking cue ball.
yeah. Then he shows up to the playoffs. He scores a hattie.
Yeah, unreal.
Just unreal. They did this to the Panthers, like in 2016. I'm like,
Vietnam flashback.
Yeah, flashback of that
did
shit.
y'all
And then
last
they
year
did it
too?
last year in the play-in thing, and I just watched them. I'm like, how do they score? Just how do they score? They just put a guy in front of the net and bang a couple bodies and hope something trickles in, and it always does. I can't stand watching them play. But here's the thing: I always know that they're going to pull it through. So I guess from a coaching standpoint, they're very well coached.
So my dad just walked in the room and handed me a piece of paper. I'll show it up. It says, Panthers suck, Lightning are pussies. And he just handed it to me, gave it to me. That's for you guys.
Yes, he can't root for anyone there.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, he gave me a lot of shit for quote unquote rooting for the Lightning last night. I said I would never root for the Lightning. I'm just rooting to be right about predicting them to win the series.
The Rangers decided that they were going to sell all of their grit players and the guys that can actually hit, and they went for skill and speed. And look at them; they are the biggest pussies in the NHL. They are the most pussy team in the NHL. You could go in there and smack any of them, and then who's going to come in to save you? Panarin.
Tom Wilson's got the franchise up in arms. He just went out there and just did what he wanted in MSG, and no one laid a finger on him. He was just like flexing the box, like, yeah, what's up?
Yeah, because he knows nobody's going to do anything. Now, you know why Dan Quinn didn't freaking pan out there? Because he's got to look down the bench and go, hey, Alexis Lafreniere, I need you to go answer the bell there. Tom Wilson, he just wrecked one of our guys. And Lafreniere's like sitting like, dude, I'm here to score goals. And then he looks at the whole bench. And it's like, oh, everybody's here to score goals. Nobody's here to be a fucking tough guy.
Oh, yeah, there's no fighters out here. If one guy gets killed out here, I guess we're on our own.
Yeah, that's the Rangers front. They score a ton of goals. They can't defend for shit.
No. Defending, I'll argue with you there. They were a plus 30-something team defensively, but
who'd they play all year?
The best division in hockey.
No,
Mickey Mouse.
The Central.
I have no room to talk here. I mean, you guys have playoff team. I can't really say shit. I mean, the Rangers get ragdolled. Like, what are we going to say?
The Panthers have sucked my whole life. I've watched them get ragdolled like every year for my whole life. I know a team that is a bunch of pussies when I see one. And the Rangers, they score a shitload of goals, but no one's answering the bell. Like if Ryan Reeves is on the ice, dude, those guys are skating. They're going down the locker room like immediately. They're like, I'm not going out there.
No, you're right. Hey, John Scott needs to come out of retirement and put on a Ranger uni. That's what we need.
Oh my God, I would pay to see that. I would become an SCM member for the Rangers just to go see John Scott play.
SCM. Wow, we got to abbreviate the season ticket member.
Yeah, I'm a Lightning fan. We're special like that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you know what? Now that CJ's here, okay, this has been brewing for a while.
The main event.
Yeah, the main event. The Panther. We'll get to the other series later. The Panthers and Lightning played last night. It was the best game I've seen since before the pandemic started. Fans were into it. The Panthers were playing at 150% effort. It was amazing to see. Their bright spots came out. They are a very fast team. They are physical. They stick up for themselves, and they have a lot of heart. They are a great team, and I wish Aaron Ekblad was there because I think it would be really tight. Now, again, this is no slight on the Florida Panthers. I am fair to both sides because I don't hate or like the Panthers, and I definitely hate the Lightning. I don't like them at all. So I'm impartial to both, right? Listen, the Panthers are building something really great. I think they just got really screwed with the matchup. You're going up against the number one goaltender in the NHL. You're going up against the best left side of the defense in the NHL. They're getting an MVP back for game one, Stamkos back for game one. These things just stack up. They score on the power play. They have a great penalty kill. It's just too tough for Florida. Now, if they had Ekblad, I wish they did because we get to see both teams at their best. But I think Florida, they have to go at 120% really to keep it close with the Lightning. And last night, Vasilevsky, he gave up some softies. Let's just be honest. That's not going to happen again. Now, Bobrovsky also gave up some softies, and I don't think that'll happen again either. I think emotions were very high. Goalies were dealing with fans like that for the first time. It got to both goalies. So I think both teams, they're going to shore up a little bit defensively. There were holes on both sides. The Lightning knew how to expose Yandel. The Panthers knew how to expose the Bolts last night. Let's just be honest. Both teams were high-flying, very high-octane offenses. But what I think is going to prevail for the Lightning mainly in this series, what I noticed most last night, they were so calm and so mature with the puck in pressure situations. If you were watching that game on mute, you would have no idea that it was a playoff game because the way that the Lightning were moving the puck, there was no, they weren't jittering all around. They weren't nervous. It was pass here, pass there, set up a shot. It was just the routine for them. It looked easy. Whereas Florida, they were very high on emotion. If the fans were into the game, you could see that they were going an extra step faster, that they were going really fast, trying to get a really quick one-time shot, being extra physical on the boards. But Tampa, they kind of stay at the same level the whole game. And I think over 7 games, it's going to mean a lot. Now, Florida's going to win some games because of that. They're going to win because they're going to catch momentum swings and capitalize. But then you see last night, Tampa knows what to do in these clutch situations. They come in 4-4 game, 5-4 point scores on a breakaway, and all this momentum, it comes crashing down for Florida. You're like, they played one of their best games of the season, and it ends like that, and you can't even beat the Lightning, and you scored 4 goals on them. That's tough, and it's just they're so close, but they just got screwed with the Lightning. I think they would have beat Carolina in a playoff matchup. If they were in the other division, they would beat Washington. I think they would beat Boston. They're better than a lot of Eastern Conference teams. I think they just got screwed with the Lightning.
I'm gonna rebuttal here. Number one, I don't think either goalie let in really any softies. I think that the only softie last night was the Braden Point goal. It was a gorgeous move, and I just think that Bobrovsky needed to keep his legs closed. It was a gorgeous goal. Like, that's the only goal where you're sitting there. It's like technically like not like, because dude, like the Barkov scored a ripper. He scored a slap shot. There was Vasi wasn't getting there. Verhaeghe scored a literal laser right after that. Vasi wasn't getting there. When Huberdeau scored that goal, he dummied Hedman and the whole defense, and Tippett was backdoor. What's Vasilevsky supposed to do there, right? That's what I'm sitting here and saying. I don't think any of the goals that were let in last night were technically softies. Yeah, I would say that Bobrovsky had 2 moments where I'm like, dude, you got to be there. And that was on the PowerPoint goal from Kucherov to Point. I think was standing there in the middle of the ice. He literally just got to touch it home on a power play. And then Braden Point at the end of the game, he made a gorgeous move, but I just feel like Bobrovsky's stick has to be on the ice there. It can't be in the air. You got to close the 5-hole, right? I thought 2 goalies bailed their teams out many times. There were tons of scoring chances. Despite Ekblad or not, the Panthers have been scoring on Vasilevsky all year. And the Lightning have had their way with the Panthers as well. I think it's beyond even in the scoring department. I do think that you're right that Tampa was very calm last night, and because they know how to win. The Tampa Bay Lightning know how to win. They've been there. They've done that. This core has been to the playoffs multiple times together and have gone on multiple deep runs. They know how to win, and they also – honestly, one of the best things that probably happened to that core was getting swept by the Blue Jackets, because then they knew what they can and they can't do, and they knew we can't play fucking like that because we'll get swept by an NHL team. So that team has been through it all. The Panthers have not. The Panthers, that core has been in 1 playoff series with the Islanders. They were in a play-in last year. I wouldn't even count that as playoffs. So in terms of composure, the Lightning are always going to have that in that department. Now, I will tell you this, like, I know that, people are like, they got screwed with the Lightning. They got, screwed with this, whatever. It's only 1 game, and it was a 1-goal game, and each team went on runs, right? The better team at 5-on-5 through the season in terms of statistics, but for sure last night were the Panthers. The first 4 goals that the Lightning scored yesterday were not at 5-on-5. One was shorthanded. 3 straight we're on the power play. All right. Now that's a discipline thing. The Panthers need to stay out of the box. The Sam Bennett thing, he should have absolutely been suspended for that. And I'm not going to be the guy who's sitting here saying he shouldn't have been suspended. I do think other action should have been taken towards some other lightning players over the last couple games beyond like even just a hearing. I think a fine or two should have been put out there, but is what it is. I just think that this series is unbelievably even. I do think it goes 7 games, Ekblad or not, Bennett or not tomorrow. The Panthers are going to score. They're Barkov and Huberto are going to make something happen on line 1 and line 2, and line 3 always gets one in there. So I just think that this series is beyond even, and I think that downplaying the Panthers' success to like, oh, they're not going to have Ekblad, it's a cop out. I think that Ekblad or not, the series goes 7, and it would be nice to have Ekblad in there because he's a Hedman caliber player. I mean, this year he would have been up for the Norris. He would have had votes 100%. He was a front runner of many statistics for defensemen. So, but that's neither here nor there. I think that the Panthers are well equipped to win the series. I think that the Lightning are even more equipped to win the series. I think it should go 7. The series would do itself justice if it went 7. And yeah, anyway, the coaches are also evenly matched. I mean, Quenneville is a shoo-in for Hall of Fame. He's the second most winningest coach of all time, but Cooper is also a very good coach in his own right. So that's why I think the series is going to always be a 1-goal game.
That's a bold take.
Yeah, I mean that's it. I mean, everything in last night's game is what you wanted. That's what everyone anticipated. It was tight checking. I mean, it was both teams went on runs, like CJ said. It was 2 goals. I think I looked at the spread, and besides the first goal, it was 2 goals by the Panthers, then 2 by the Lightning, then 2 by the Panthers, then 2 by the Lightning in the game. So the goals came in chunks, and it came for each team. But at the end of the day, that went overtime. It was in overtime the last 5 minutes of the game. The next goal was going to win that game regardless. Mm-hmm. And fortunately, the Lightning got the break, and Point gets behind. Dunham makes it grass. The Panthers dominated parts of that game, and as well the Lightning. And so I don't think by any stretch the series is going to be. It's not going to be a cakewalk for anyone. Last night they were fortunate to pull out that game. The Panthers really had that on lock until about 7 minutes left. They take another bad penalty. So I think this one goes 6 or 7, like CJ said. It's going to be tight. There's no way I see one team or the other pulling away in completeness in 5. But another thing too, Vasilevsky's given up goals against the Panthers all year. You look at his numbers; he doesn't like them. That kind of concerns me as a fan watching the game. Just doesn't seem like he has a ton of confidence oozing when he goes and plays over there. But you're getting scoring from Kucherov, Point, top guys, and the Panthers, their top guns came out last night too. Huberto, Barkov, Verhaeghe, guys scoring all over the place. So I think this series is set to go long, and I think you'd be fooling yourself if you think it's not.
Yeah, I mean, as a Lightning fan, I hope this series goes like 3 games. I hope like the Panthers just forfeit. That would make me feel good. As a fan of the game, I hope this goes 8 games. I love this. It's physical. It's high scoring. It's intense. There's fans in the building. It's everything you could ask for. So from that perspective of it, this series is going to be fun. It's destined for 6 or 7. It's going to be good. Going back to the soft goals, I don't really think either one's a soft goal. I think you're just looking at a series where both teams are very offensive instinctively. Regardless.
I don't think any goals were soft goals. I'm just saying out of all the goals, those were probably the softer because the rest of them were one-timers or just sick passes. Like the couple Lightning goals on the power plays were just gorgeous wrist shots from great passes. None of these, I don't think any goals were necessarily like, oh my God, you have to have that, right?
No, yeah, for sure. There's no muffins. It's not like Jari letting in one, upstairs where he should have the net covered, whatever. But I think both of these teams are offensive minded. I think this is going to be a high scoring series. I think the Lightning can kind of play both sides, and I think the Panthers can too, but I think they're looking at it and they're saying this is going to be a tight checking but high scoring series. If the Panthers stay out of the box and make the Lightning score 5-on-5, I think they're going to have a shot in this series, but clearly they need to be more disciplined. And yes, I understand it's a rivalry. Yes, I understand you're going to be taking a little more extra whacks. And, obviously there was a lot of 4-on-4 last night. So you can see that they're kind of going going at each other after in between whistles, behind the play, whatever it is. But I think special teams is definitely going to have a big factor in this series. It's good for the sport. Anytime these two teams are going to get together this series, whether it goes 4, 5, 6, or 7, it's going to be good for the sport. It's going to be good for both Florida teams. I'm here for it. I'm a fan of it. If game one's any indication of how the rest of the series pans out, we're in for a treat. And maybe the Panthers got screwed with the division aligning. Maybe not. That's not really up for debate.
We can't keep saying that. We're always going to be in the Lightning.
Exactly.
We're always going to be in the Lightning's division. We're probably going to always be with Carolina. Like, these are the teams, and it's either you answer the bell or you don't. And the whole cap space thing and the whole blah blah blah, whatever the fuck. You have to beat these guys regardless. Barkov, in my opinion, in which you guys can dispute me all day long, it's okay. I think that Barkov is the best player on the ice no matter what. I think that he has clearly showed this year that he's a top 7 player in the entire league, and that is the guys on Chicklets have said this. The guys on NHL Network have been saying this, and Kucherov hasn't even played the whole year. So you also probably have arguably the best player on the ice, right? So it's either you win or you don't, or you fucking don't, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to be the sympathetic, like, oh my God, we're building something here. The thing is built. You win now.
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't think the Panthers are getting screwed at all. I just think it's the way it is. It's like any other sport, any division. Look at baseball. I mean, the Rays, you could say they get screwed every year. They get to play the Yankees, the Red Sox, but same deal in the division. In a normal year, it'd be us, Florida, Boston, and Toronto. That's the Atlantic Division. So that's no easier. I've built something, like CJ said, and it's come to. I've watched a lot the last 3 years being down in Boca, and the how has grown up to this point, and now they're legit. It's just, can you put it out there on the ice for 16 games and win a cup? And I think they're doing it. They have the right coach, goaltending for a young. So, in leading to tomorrow's game, I think that's a big test. What you can look at is like, do they come out and just forget what happened the other night? You dominated that game you come out nervous, or do you come out and make a statement and even the series up? That's my plan in tomorrow's game. I think who responds? Did the Lightning coast into that game and just go into it, or do the Panthers come out and respond a nice way? So
yeah, we'll see. And I'm going to stop this real quick. Okay, so did that again. All right. So one other thing that I really liked about it, what Florida was doing, they were physical and they were contesting Tampa in that category all night, especially Lomberg. He was a chirper last night. He was all night. You saw him talking to the Lightning bench. It was great. I loved it. And the Panthers, they stuck up for themselves. And if you can do that against a team that's got a lot of big guys and a lot of guys that know what they're doing, that's respect. And, they can, I thought maybe Tampa will come into this as the big boys on the block. No, Florida was like, fuck you. We're a good team too, with a lot of physical enforcers, and they did a good job. So outside of Lomberg, CJ, you think there's other guys that are going to get under Tampa's skin throughout the series?
Well, I mean, look, I think that you have to look at that line as a whole. I think that Noel Acciari is an extremely difficult center to play against. People loved him in Boston. They just didn't have the money to give him what he was wanting for him to stay there. He's a gritty player. You saw he completely robbed whoever that was in the crease last night.
Yeah.
Bobrovsky thought he covered the puck, and Acciari literally got down and saved a sure goal. I wouldn't say Achari's a chirper per se, but you guys see Uyghur's a pretty big dude. He flies around there. And prior to Acciari coming over to Florida, he destroyed Uyghur in a fight in Boston. It's a really good fight, actually, but he totally ragdolled Uyghur. So he's a strong dude. But I will also say another shit poster, another shit stirrer is definitely Mason Marchment. He's in there just to be a wrecking ball. He's always going to go towards the net. He's looking to hit. That whole line is looking to hit, and Achari's really good in the face-off circle. And then obviously you can't forget about Hornfist. That guy literally people hate him. I hated him when he was in Pittsburgh.
That's a piece of shit.
He's a dick. He's a total dick, but he's a dick that you would love to have on your team.
Piece of shit. Yeah.
And
yeah. No, exactly.
So is Gudis. Gudis, I hated Radko Gudis for my entire. Like I literally, when I tell you that I would go to games, I would scream "fuck you, Gudis" whenever he was in town. I hated Gudis, and now he's on my team, and I'm like, all right, I love Gudis, right? So they've got their own
too.
They've got their own cabinet of guys that will get under the Lightning skin. I find all facets of this series to be extremely even. I will say this though, and look, I've got 2 Lightning fans here, so I'm sure that you guys will agree with me on this. As a Panthers fan, I'm sitting here terrified that our penalty kill looked awful. It needed to be 2 goals better last night, and we would have walked away with a win. But as the Lightning fans, the Panthers have had Vasilevsky figured out all year, so that's a little scary. So the fact that the Panthers are going to score 5-on-5 no matter what, that's also a little scary. And I don't even know why you made a face. Like his stats against the Panthers.
No, dude, this motherfucker's laugh. This guy Jacob and smirking over there. I'm like trying not to laugh.
No,
I was trying to make Jacob laugh.
I know. Adam's trying to make me laugh, and then Steve's he's laughing at me.
I'm like, bro, I'm trying to listen to this. I'm like, he's spitting facts right now.
Yeah,
it's true though.
No, I disagree. I disagree. In the last 2 games that Vazzy gave up 9 goals, you're looking at an AHL roster. Matt Lenny started, 2-3 games against the Panthers? So Vazzy started 2 games, and I think the Lightning won both games. I think that's how it worked out. I don't think Vazzy gave up anything soft when he's playing in front of an NHL team. Now, maybe that is my bias. I'll admit to it. I obviously, as a Tampa guy, I could be biased to it, but I really don't
I just hate the argument that it's I hate we're fielding an AHL roster. That is just ridiculous. Either the Panthers are they're scoring on Vasilevsky or not. Is Vasilevsky all of a sudden an AHL goalie just because a couple of guys are in front of him? He's either the best fucking goalie in the league or he's not. And
in that particular game, they were talking about the entire left side being out. So that's if it was one of the 3, I'd be like, okay, Vasilevsky.
That's not an excuse.
But when Hedman, Sergachev, and McDonough are all out at the same time, that's wait a second, who's on that defense? You can't even name anyone.
And then then you look at the Panthers in that game that they tucked 5 past Vasilevsky in the final game of the season. Huberdeau didn't play, Sam Bennett didn't play.
Yeah, that's a great point too.
No, I agree with you on that one. I'll agree with you on that one. I'm just saying, I think this whole, regular season, it's so weird to try and figure out if these games have mattered. You've played each other 8 times. Do you know how to beat a team, or is it, like the Islanders did last night? Are they able to flip that switch and now you're playing an entirely different team? I think it's so hard to kind of judge that right now that you can't really say, oh, well, this team should sweep because they had their number. I think there's good teams.
Obviously, I've never said that the Panthers are ever going to sweep. They're never going to sweep.
I'm not saying that.
It doesn't matter who they're playing. They're not going to sweep them. I'm just saying that they clearly have the confidence to go up against the best goalie in the league, which I will sit here and say, the best goalie in the league. They have the confidence, hey, we know we can score, and they went into last night thinking the same thing, and they scored 4 at 5-on-5, or 3 of them at 5-on-5, which is good. In my opinion, as a Panthers fan right now, where I leave that game last night, obviously depressed and pissed off that we couldn't stay out of the fucking box. But I sit there and go, okay, at 5-on-5, we looked really good.
Yeah.
And at 5-on-5, we're scoring on Vasilevsky. These are things I can take away from the game and go, we can still win the series. Now, if we sucked yesterday, we couldn't stop the PK, we weren't scoring, then I would go, oh my God, we're so outmatched right now. That was just an awful showing. But everything was even last night. The biggest thing from last night that the Lightning absolutely outclassed the Panthers was composure. They had been there. They had done that. They didn't make the fucking dumb penalties. They didn't get anybody suspended. The Panthers looked like they hadn't been there before, which is fucing true.
And, I was going to lead into it. You look at the Lightning, they won the cup last year in the bubble, but, they've been in the playoffs, 6 of the last 7 years, something like that. So you look at this team and you understand.
We suck.
Yeah. No, but you look at this team and you go, they have experience. How many guys are left from the 2016 series against the Islanders? Yes, they played playoff hockey last year, but that's not in front of fans. And I think you could see it last night that, Jacob, you mentioned it when you're in your beginning that when the crowd was going, you could see the Panthers were trying to do a little more. When the crowd was out of it, you can kind of see the Panthers were kind of lulling. And I think that kind of shows not an immature team, but a young, inexperienced team.
I don't
right?
know, but it was pretty fucking loud in there last
Yeah.
night.
But
It was
I'm
pretty
very
fucking like,
Yeah, but the Lightning looked very composed on the power play. They looked kind of composed 5-on-5, even if they didn't produce. So I'm really interested to see how Florida reacts going into Tampa. Playing in an opponent's barn is very different come playoff time. And if they're reacting that way to their own fans, how are they going to react when there's 7,000 fans booing at them and yelling at them every time they've got the puck?
Yeah. No, I mean that makes sense. I will say though, in terms of the Lightning and the Panthers are definitely different in their approach to offense, right? So like the Panthers have a shitload of speed. Declare Verhaeghe, Huberdeau guys, once he gets going, he's fast as shit.
Yeah, for sure.
Tippett's fast as shit. He's just got a long stride. Vetrano's fast as hell. They're a lot of boom, go, 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 right? And they center their skill players, their centers with two speedy wingers on their side, and then the center will get in there, right? So where I find the Lightning, like last night, I was watching the game with Jacoby, right? And a lot of what the Lightning are is they get into the zone and it's methodical. They're going to get it up to the point. We're going to swing it over to the right D. We're going to get it down low. And next thing you know, when you're a fan of the Panthers and you're watching, you're like, oh my god, we haven't cleared this yet. But that's the Lightning offense you got to get used to because they're a very good passing team. They're going to get a fucking high scoring chance because that's how they fucking win because they always score no matter what. Whereas the Panthers are a ton of fast break, if you will, get the puck in deep, quick chance. Oh my god, and then it's going to go the next way anyway, right?
Right.
So that's something that the Panthers D are going to have to get used to is that they're going to be defending for a decent amount of time because the Lightning offense was so methodical last night and their time of possession in the offensive zone was actually extremely impressive in game one. And I'm like, we got to fucking clear this. But then when you realize it's like, this is their offense, they're, whereas Huberdeau and Barkov are fucking flying down the ice and, doing some spinorama back sauce pass and, you know what I mean? So that's why I feel like a lot of it is so exciting though, because it's like you're seeing two teams that can score, but they score in different ways. And for like actual hockey fans, it's like, holy shit, this is nuts.
Yeah.
Who would have thought this was going down in Florida, right? While you have the shit teams up in Canada who fucking try to gatekeep hockey from everybody else. And they're like, Florida people don't know shit. But I'm like, what do you mean we don't know shit? Fucking our teams have been better than yours for a while. Like, even though the Panthers haven't made the playoffs, they've been fucking better than most of the teams up in Canada. And obviously the Lightning are the best team in the league.
Yeah, no, and the big thing too here is we see all this emotion on the ice, the physicality, the brawls. Well, not brawls, but the scrums in front of the net after plays. Teams need to be playing division rivals more throughout the season. I'm tired of this in the normal 82 game schedule where you play your in-division teams 4, maybe 5 times. The 8 games is so much better. I don't know what the NHL has to do, whether it's realignment or because usually what it is, you get the home and away against every team in the other conference, in the Western Conference. If you're an East team and you play the other East Division 3 times, 2 home, 1 away. If they could just make it to where you play every team from every other division twice and you get an extra game or an extra 2 games against teams in your division, it creates so much more tension and it creates more rivalries that way because there's no reason why, let's just say the Lightning have to play Detroit or a team out of their division next year would be the Islanders, let's say. They don't need to play them 3 times. I'd much rather see them play an in-division team like Toronto an extra game than 4 games instead of 5. So that I think is such a major contributor this year where not just this series, but every series, these guys hate each other. At the end of some of these series, you might be up to 15, 16, 17 games. That's like baseball in the regular season, playing these guys over and over again. That's a lot better than the way it used to be, at least to me.
Well, I have to say, like, I don't mind at all. Look, I don't want to do this every year, right? With the divisions, how it's like we only play a set group of teams. But I wish that it was a little bit more like the NFL. How in the NFL, your division games are huge, right?
Right.
But then you're paired with another division throughout the season. So it's like your entire division is playing the same division. Everybody has to play the same teams, right? And then there's some sprinkled games here and there where, you play, right? So the Dolphins last year, that I'm going off a little bit of a tangent here, but it's going to make sense. The Dolphins last year were AFC East. They were paired with the AFC West, right? So the Pats, the Dolphins, and the Jets and the Bills, they all had to play the Seahawks, the 49ers, the fucking Rams, and whoever the fuck else, the Cardinals, right? So everybody had to play those teams. I think it would be cool if they kept these divisions and they kind of did something like that where everybody plays this one division a bunch of times and then you'll play everybody else like just once. Because it's just dumb that everybody plays each other 2 or 3 fucking times and then we're robbed of some great rivalries, like you're saying.
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
Yeah, I mean, it goes both ways. Like there's good arguments on both sides. I mean, it's nice that you've built this rivalry amongst teams this year. I think for Florida and the Lightning especially, like play each other 4 times a year, like you said, in normal division alignment. But now it's 8. Now if you go 7 games, you're playing each other 15, 16 times in 1 year, which is good. It's renewed a lot of rivalries in other divisions like Boston and Washington. New York's playing Boston more, Islanders and Rangers more. But I kind of like the format that's at now at 82 games, like where you go and play every team twice. I don't know. It allows you to play a different style of game. Like you still have to go out West Coast. You make that road trip. That's part of the built-in part of the season, the grind of it all. And I think it's nice to play the West Coast and you get to play each team because each team's a different style. But yeah, then it takes away from your division play. So there's sides to both of it, but I prefer the playing every team in the league at least 2 or 3 times. I think it gives you a good layout and it creates that's what makes the NHL great, the parity of playing everybody, and there's not a bad team in the league per se.
I think so my final thoughts on the whole Panthers Lightning series is tomorrow is such a massive game, and I know that Sam Bennett won't be playing. But the thing is that the Panthers sort of have a luxury is that when played on Sam Bennett's line for the first half of the season, and they were still scoring. So I'm sure Wenberg will slot up. I don't know who they're going to put at third line center, but if the Panthers can get a decisive win tomorrow and tie up the series and then go to Tampa and be able to slot back Sam Bennett into the lineup, Game 3 will be so unbelievably interesting for like the national audience. It's, you know what I mean? Like, it's not going to be like if the Panthers lose tomorrow night, obviously they're going to be in fucking desperation mode going into Tampa. I still think that like if it's a 1-1 series, it's going to be the tensions are going to still be so fucking high because nobody can fuck up and nobody wants to give the other team that decisive tilt of the ice, right? So anyway, I'm going to the game tomorrow. I will be there. Super excited.
Nice.
I will actually be at every playoff game going forward. Shout out to my dad. He's clutch. So anyway, super excited. I think that Quenneville is a fucking legend, and I am sure that he's going to get these guys right and stay out of the box and make the necessary adjustments on the power penalty kills, so where they're not giving up four fucking power play goals, or maybe giving up 2.
That's another thing, CJ, that comes into play here. This could be where Q comes in and says, listen, guys, I've been here, done that. I know what I'm doing. I'm a Hall of Fame coach. You guys might not have been here, but I've been to the dance and I've won it 3 times. He could come in game 2 and give them a killer speech before the game and be like, boys, this is how we're going to do it tonight. The Barry Trotz effect, right?
But a lot of the thing is he's been, which, you know, I see these things from just Panthers reporters, and I kind of talk to them on the side just because they're very friendly, and like you could just DM them anyway. But a lot of what he's telling the team, and most likely telling the team, is I was down 1 game a shitload of times in Chicago. It fucking happens. Just go out and tie up the fucking series, and none of it matters. You go into game 3, it's a tied up series, you know, and. You know, I think that the big difference between this Panthers team is, you know, they've always been skilled over the years, but they never had the mental fortitude. And Hughes kind of given them that, like, you guys are ballers. Go fucking be ballers. Stop being pussies. You know what I mean? So John Cooper's great, though. John Cooper's an amazing coach. He'll probably be a Hall of Famer. I don't really know how they judge Hall of Fame coaches by, but I'm sure he will be one. He's won a cup. He's got a shitload of wins. He'll probably go down as the number 1 winningest coach in Lightning history, which probably deserves a Hall of Fame bid, but he's way younger than Q, I think. I don't know how.
Yeah, he's got a while too. Yeah,
he's got a while. Yeah, so he'll probably be a shoo-in. But you know, regardless, in terms of the Panthers will be ready tomorrow. Bennett is a loss though because he's been playing so well with Huberdeau. But again, I can't fucking argue with it. He charged him from fucking 50 feet away. So,
all right, so let's rank him though. We keep saying like, oh, the Barkov's the best player on the ice. I want to see what everyone says about this. So let's just eliminate. Okay, if we're going to pick 3 from both teams, we'll just do a top 3. Who's being kicked out immediately off the list? Because like in my list, I'm just throwing it out there, no particular order. Hedman, Stamkos, Kucherov, Barkov, Huberdeau, Vasilevsky, or are we not going to count goalies?
Vazzy is.
You would have to
I
count
would.
You have to
I was
count.
gonna make it-
Okay. So we
I was
got
going to make an
those
argument
six.
for Vazzy being better than Barkov, quite honestly.
Oh, boy. Oh, I don't know.
Well, I mean, like
It,
that's like it. You can't necessarily go wrong with that statement, right? Because it's
Yeah.
like the number one goalie in the league, and it's like
But it's so
back-
different position. You can't compare the positions.
right. You know what I mean? So like obviously the best goalie in the series is Vasilevsky, of course. But you know if we're ranking the skaters,
Yeah.
right?
No, if we're ranking skaters, I think if Kucherov plays a whole year, I don't think we're having the argument. But the fact is, he didn't play the whole season, so I don't have a problem necessarily saying Barkov is the best player. Stamkos missed half the season. Kucherov was out the whole year. Point looked lost without those two. Hedman, yes, he's an X factor, but I think Barkov kind of just edges him just because, I think Barkov just kind
There's
of
an overall impact of the game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he for the puck finds him and he finds the back of the net all the time. And he's like, even last night, he was in such good scoring opportunities down below the goal line, feeding the pucks out. And that I think he dished it to Verhaeghe, I think, and that to score the third goal or second goal or whatever it was. And the guy finds the right time on the ice, and he plays both ways. He plays 200 feet. So yeah, this year I think Barkov would be the best player on the ice right now. And then you go down to Point, Hedman. I mean,
Yeah.
even Huberdeau on the other side. I mean, it's so subjective. Like it can go both ways. I think
would
the
say they're all
Panthers.
of the same caliber.
yeah, they
Yeah, I
really.
mean, the
it's just
Panthers
a
have
really
the
skilled
Panthers
team.
have their guys. I mean, they've got Huberdeau, Barkov, Verhaeghe, and then you have a great goaltender. The Lightning same way. They have the top 4 or 5 guys that they can lean on and go from there. So I mean, it's so much tighter, I think, this series than people think and expect, just because of past, I guess, results or like the cup argument, whatever playoff appearances, I guess you want to use. But this series is up. It's gonna be razor thin margin. And tomorrow night, like CJ said, I think it's the who comes out. I think if the Panthers just forget about it and just come out the gate like it's game one again, then they'll be in great shape. I just think can they get that, the experience from Coach Q to be like, all right, just forget about game one. Let's go. We'll tie it up. And then you go to Tampa and split games and go from there.
If you
I'm
can,
ranking, sorry, go
if you
ahead.
can, no, thank you. If you can take the lesson you learned and stay out of the box and continue doing what they're doing, like 5-on-5, they had 4 goals. Like that's impressive. If they can stay out of the box, I think, and learn from their mistakes, I think they're gonna have a good argument for taking the series. But I think if they come out tomorrow and they win, I think it has to fall on Coach Q. Unless someone comes out and has a 4-point game, 3.4-point game, I think it falls on Coach Q and just the experience he has going into that. I think it really falls on his shoulders to, if they can pull out a win. If they can't pull out a win, you can't really blame the guy. But I think having that experience in the room, that's why you go out and you get a guy like Q. You get a guy like Hornquist. You go get a Sam Bennett, guys who have played in the playoffs. They've been in these scenarios. They know what to say. They know how to respond. I think you're kind of looking up to your leaders, your veterans in the locker room right now, and you're running with what they tell you. You take your lessons, you take what they're telling you, and you run with it.
Yeah. All right. So, I mean, let me respond to that. I will say right now, like completely honest with you, if they lose tomorrow, it's on cue. Sorry, you don't get home ice and you lose back to back. Like, I don't care who the fuck you're playing in the league. If you can ice Barkov and Huberdeau and an actually very good, probably the best top 9 in Panthers the last 20 years, and you can't get one win on home ice, and a lot of it came down to special teams. And what is special teams? A lot of it's coaching. When they go back to the bench and they're writing up the fucking power play and they're drawing up the PK, you like, how many times do you have to look at the bench and go, Kucherov is standing there, Stamkos is fucking standing there. That's their whole game. They're going to pass it across the ice. They had their way the whole time passing across the ice, guys. Fucking figure it out. That's going to come down to coaching because the players are skilled. They're in the NHL. And it's down to the coaches to be like, we're seeing the game from a way different area, from a way different perspective as you guys are. This is what needs to be fixed. Now, if they're constantly telling them what needs to be fixed and the players aren't fucking going out there and doing it, that's fucking one thing, which could be the case, right? But I would say if you as a coach, like your Coach Q, and can't make the adjustments and get one win at home when the teams are pretty evenly matched, and I would say the Hedman isn't 100% right now, and I would say that Kucherov is still getting back into the flow of things, although he looked amazing last night. I'd still say that's not even the tip of the iceberg for him. And Stamkos is still getting back into the slew of things. You've got to take a fucking game at home. And now, in terms of the best skaters or the best forwards and defensemen I would have to say it would go Barkov, Kucherov. I think you're splitting hairs with Stamkos and Huberdeau because Stamkos is a little bit older now, and he's still prolific, but he's not the same prolific that he was. I mean, I know I literally watched him score a shitload of goals against the Panthers over the years. I know how good he was. I used to envy that motherfucker, and I wanted him on my team so bad. I think that Huberdeau is unbelievable, as you guys know. I mean, fucking 4-point night last night. The guy's he's there. He's here. Really? He's 500 points in his career. He's so underrated. He's a leading scorer in Panthers franchise history. Regardless, you're splitting hairs there, and immediately right after it would be Hedman. But a healthy Hedman, like a year ago, 2 years ago, I would say that it would go whatever Barkov, Kucherov, or whoever the fuck you wanted, and then right after that would be Hedman, and then you can talk about Stamkos and Huberdeau later.
Yeah, it's really crazy how much star power there is in this series. I mean, there's really no other series in the league where both teams, there's some, obviously the Oilers are going to have McDavid, blah, blah, blah. But versus each other, this is the best star power against star power. And ESPN, TNT, they got to be really happy right now because if they had this series, that's what bums me out about this too. If it had been a year later and this was on ESPN, TNT, this would be the series that you could show people and be like, this is the NHL, this is the NHL playoffs, because the NHL has such a chance to go mainstream, but I'm going off on a tangent there. So I promised that we would get to the other playoff series that are going to be either starting up or have already played. So we had the Vegas Golden Knights, Minnesota Wild series. Minnesota won 1-0 in overtime in game one on the road. Vegas had fans. Fleury played out of his mind, but Cam Talbot was better. And one thing that I noticed, Vegas outshot Minnesota by a lot. Now, Fleury was fantastic. He made a lot of incredible saves. He was incredible, but Cam Talbot was insane. I mean, he had 40-plus saves, including overtime, against an offense that you could argue has more weapon. I mean, Vegas had the better record. They're probably the better team, and they have more high-octane scorers, the Mark Stones and all that. So I think it's really impressive that Cam Talbot was able to go in there and shut out Vegas on the road. Minnesota, I always knock them. They don't have an identity, but I think they at least have someone that they can say, if we get it to him, he can be our guy. Now, he didn't have a point in game one. I mean, all but three guys didn't have a point in game one, so you can't blame him for that. But Kaprizov's their guy. If you get him going, at least they can say now he's our spark plug, whereas in years past, it's like we just got a bunch of average players and we ended up being the 8th seed, and that's what happens every year. We're a first-round exit. Now at least you can say they have a star that they can rely on. I don't think Minnesota wins this series, though. I think eventually talent plays out. They got a nice win, but again, it's a 1-goal difference, and Cam Talbot played his ass off. That's not going to happen 4 times in a row. And so I think Vegas will plug it out, especially because Fleury, even though he had less saves than Talbot by 15 or 16 shots, he had some incredible highlight reel saves. So Vegas, I think, will string this one along and win. But Minnesota played hard. They played a tough game and won game one.
Wild in 6.
Wild in 6. Wow.
Fuck you.
I don't agree. I don't agree with that one bit. I think I would say Vegas in 6 way before I'd said Wild, but I do think that this game, I think that this series can go 7 because I think that the Wild are further along in their rebuild and their progression of acquiring players and talent than people actually realize. And I know that because there are a couple teams at the beginning of the year that I picked to start betting on, and I will bet their trends as the year goes on. And the Wild were one of the teams I kept a close eye on. And whenever they lost, I would immediately bet them the next game. And I always watched like whatever games I could on ESPN Plus because they were my team in the West that I'll take them. Because anyway, the way that's going to work is just because the Wild are never going to be heavy favorites, especially in that division. So you're never going to have like a steep money line. And a lot of times you can get value because they'll be underdogs, right? And the Wild constantly rose to the occasion this year. And I think that Kaprizov kid is so further along than any other rookie just because he played in fucking Russia and he's 23, right? So I don't know. I think that the series can go 7 because if Cam Talbot can get hot, if a goalie gets hot, it doesn't matter. And he clearly looked hot last night. He was fucking shutout last night.
Well, I didn't even know he has 5 career playoff shutouts. I had no idea it was that many.
That's a guy. That's like one of those playoff names that I'm like, fuck that. I don't want to go up against that guy. Right. That guy. He's like one of those Varlamovs where it's like, oh my God, this guy's going to like have an unreal series and we're screwed. Right. So if I'm the Vegas Knights, I'm sitting there. I'm like, we could still very much so win this series. We could rattle off 4 in a row, but the Wild, they're not going to give anything easy to Vegas. And I mean, Vegas didn't have Pacioretty yesterday, and we're peppering Talbot. But if the Wild keep up what they're doing, make a couple of defensive adjustments, keep the shots low, Cam Talbot's could really like Cash said, could potentially bring him to the promised land and get him to the second round.
Yeah. I think Vegas's identity is a shoot first team. So I think you kind of look at the shots on goal, and that's why you see such a difference. But I think why the Wild were successful is Cam Talbot's rebound control was excellent. I think is he going to be able to lock down his rebounds in the entire series? No, he's going to let a few, pizzas slip out in front of the net, and that's when you rely on your defense to clear pucks. I think Minnesota committed well defensively to clear pucks out and to kind of stifle Vegas's offense, but this Vegas team is not going to go away quietly. They're not going to score. No, they're not going to get shut out in four straight games. It's just not going to happen. I think Steve's a little anti-Vegas, but I do think this one is 6 or 7. I could see the Wild winning it. I have Vegas picked. I think they have too much up front. I don't think the Wild are that. I think the Wild are ahead of their rebuild, but I don't think they're quite there yet to kind of win a playoff series and make a statement. I think Kaprizov is good. I don't think he's going to will the Wild to a series win, but I thought it was a good game 1 showing. I want to see if they can replicate it.
I don't know. The last 5 matchups against Vegas, they've all been 1-goal games going back to regular season.
No, Minnesota has Vegas's number, but I still think
do.
The playoffs
and
are
that's why. That's why I give them a fighting chance in this series, though. I mean, I watched all yesterday's game, and they did everything that they needed to do if they want to be successful in the series. They stayed out of the box. They had a few power play chances, didn't capitalize. Obviously, both goaltenders played out of their mind.
Right.
But I think they had the formula to beat Vegas, and that's shown, it's proven the last couple of years. San Jose knocking Vegas out, going to Dallas last year, them knocking Vegas out. There's a system in place that you can beat Vegas. It's slowing them down the neutral zone, going to the corners, working, make them work hard because they want all these fast breaks. They want odd man rushes. And when that does work, to not fold, but it seems to fluster their game plan, their ability to adapt in the game. So I think if Minnesota can replicate that game night in, night out, I think Vegas is in trouble. But on the same token, they're going to figure out how to score goals because Vegas will come and that cap will eventually come off. But it's going to be interesting. All these twos are going to be wild because who responds in what way. That all eyes are going to be on Vegas because they're one of the favorites to take the cup home. So can they respond in a good way and come out and just let it go? And I think they will, but I think that Minnesota is very capable of winning this series. It'll go deep though if they do it.
Yeah, I don't think the big question for me is can they replicate that over 7 games? I don't think they can, but I think they can replicate it 4 times in the series. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
No, 100%.
Yeah, and Minnesota has fans too. If they can go in, maybe 2-0, that's daunting because Minnesota has some great fans. But Predators, Hurricanes, we don't need to touch on it. We did last pod. We knew this matchup was coming. Carolina, there's no shot. Listen, Nashville's, they've got a good defense. Saros has been out of his mind. Carolina's Carolina. They're going to beat them. But Nashville, I think there will be a game that they take. But I think it'll be a 5-game series. So we don't really have to touch on that one. But then we have Blues Avs, and this one's interesting. So now we have that confirmed. That's tonight at 10 o'clock. Hey, listen, I think everyone, you would be insane not to take Colorado because St. Louis is so up and down. They're not what they used to be. But at the same time, I feel like Colorado, they always flop. They're always highly praised. They're always, they're the cup favorite. This is their year. They're the Lightning of this year. They got to do it with this core, blah, blah, blah. This is it for Colorado, man. If they can't get past the Blues, who, again, very talented, David Perron, Tarasenko's back, O'Reilly. You got a great defense with Torrey Krug, Parayko. If their goaltender Binnington gets hot, there's a lot of guys. They've been there, done that. But Colorado's by far better in terms of offensive talent. They have a firepower of an offense with Nathan McKinnon, Brandon Saad, Rantanen, Cale Makar on defense. They've got guys that can score the puck, that can dish the puck. They're fantastic. We'll see, though. I mean, again, this is going to be really tight just because of St. Louis's experience, but I think Colorado will prevail. Game 1 tonight at 10 o'clock.
I'd like to, real quick before we continue to talk about the Avs and the Blues, which I don't think will be as much of a series as the Preds and the Hurricanes.
Oh,
People are going to sit here and go, the Hurricanes are the Hurricanes. Fuck the Hurricanes. Will they win the series? Yes, but it's not going to be like a 5-gamer or a 4-game sweep. Absolutely not. The Predators are at the very least winning 2. And I got to tell you, the Hurricanes are going to get their bell rung. The Predators is the entire game this series is going to literally be hitting. That's it. That's all they fucking provide. Like as Steve and Adam have watched in this season, we've played the Predators like 8 times. All they've been able to do this game, and the only way that they win is by out-checking and getting to the net. Do I think Carolina is well equipped for that? Probably. I mean, they're gonna win the series, but I think it'll be more of a series than people realize. I think people think the Hurricanes are like the class of whatever right now. I think the Predators are gonna really give them a fucking a run for their money. And UC Saros is a shit goalie to go up against first round, because that guy, when he gets hot, he is literally a freaking brick wall. Like, I'm sorry.
It could be very much like Columbus in the sense.
Yes, dude. I'm telling you, they have all the makings of CBJ from 2 years ago. Like, I swear, I wouldn't want to play the Predators first round, because they just have upset mania.
Yeah, completely different team at the beginning of the year. Yeah. It's crazy. Like, Brendan Moore was talking about that the other day. They were like, "How do you feel about playing and clinching the first seed?" And he's like, "I mean, I'm not too thrilled." He goes, "This is a completely different hockey club than when we saw first 15, 20 games. They're checking. They can score now. They've kind of found their identity on the backside. Defensively, they can hit. They'll fight you." And I think
hey, Roman Josi is freaking amazing. I mean, he's still a top 5 defenseman.
Yeah, I mean, they have the capability to drag this 6 or 7, and I think all these series have the makings of going long. I just think playing a team this many times in a course of a year, it's tough to beat a team, let's see, 10 times in a year. So I think that's why we're going to see all these series being close. But yeah, I kind of like Nashville in this one too. I think Carolina doesn't know what they're getting themselves into, if you ask me.
I disagree. I think Carolina's going to wash them. I think the Predators are going to hit them. I think that's how if they're going to have a shot in the series, they have to double Carolina's hits. I don't think that's unreasonable, even in a playoff series. I think that's what they're going to have to do to win this series. I just, Suarez might be able to steal them a game. I just don't think that Nashville's got the firepower up front to hang with Carolina. I think Carolina's good defensively. They've got people up front who can score. Trocheck, Aho, Svechnikov. They've got those guys who can put the puck in the net. They've got their grinders who can keep the puck out of the net. Their defensive core with Dougie Hamilton and Brady Shea. It's a decent defensive core. I don't think Nashville hangs with them. I think it's in 5. I think I've got Carolina in 5. But
yeah, I mean, I tend to lean with Adam only because the Predators didn't have a 15-goal scorer. They had no one score 40 points or more. It's a little misleading because Forsberg missed a few weeks. Maybe he would have gotten there. But if you don't have a guy that scored 15 or a 40-point guy, that's troublesome. Now, they did pick it up at the end, but that just worries me going into a playoff series. Who are you going to rely on? Is Forsberg back up to speed? I think he only played a game or 2 before coming back off of injury. So we'll see what happens. But Carolina, they're going to prevail either way. It's just how many games.
I think Carolina's going to win the series. I'm just saying, I'm not going to sit here and be fucking surprised if it's 2-2 in 4 games, right?
No,
just
not at all.
I think the Predators have upset written all over them, and I think Saros is great. And if he catches fire, it's just going to be tough. It's going to be really tough. But as a Panthers fan and as Lightning fans here, we have to be happy about this, because whoever goes on in the series has to play Carolina, and you would rather them play a team that's super physical and is going to bang them up, because we're playing a physical series.
Yeah, for sure. No, whoever wins either of these series is going to be limping into the next one.
Yeah, right. And that's right. You'd rather be limping with somebody than limping and having to play a team that coasted through 4 games, which the Predators aren't going to let them coast. So for us, I'm like, Predators, take them to fucking 7, man, or take them to 6.
Mm-hmm.
Make them overtime games and fucking hit them in the mouth.
Yep.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And we could do it really quickly. So Blues, Abs, who we have, just give a quick winner. Abs, I think in 6.
Abs in maximum 6 for me. Maximum.
Yeah, Abs. I think I put Abs in 5 in my bracket, but I wouldn't be surprised if it went 6.
Could be 5. Totally could be 5.
Yeah, I want to say Blues in 7, but I just think the Abs just have too much. They just are gonna. I think they're going to overwhelm them. It's going to be a beatdown.
All right, and then I think we have. Yep, Jets Oilers starts. I think we went over this. Winnipeg, well, we didn't go over this part, but Winnipeg completely tanked at the end of the year. If you look at their final 10, 15 games, it was LLLLL. The advanced stats didn't support them going into the season. A lot of people were waiting for that dive down to where they probably should be based off of advanced. I don't understand these advanced stats, but the people that do said the fall is coming, and it came. So no Ehlers either. Oilers are going to win. They're not particularly a strong team, but McDavid and Draisaitl, Blake Wheeler's not the same guy. No Ehlers, no more Line. Dubois is a prick, and he sucks. And Hellebuck is not the same guy either. So I'll go Edmonton, and then Toronto will beat Montreal. So I'm trying to rush this because of the recording, but this was a great pod. We'll see where this Florida Panthers and Tampa Bay Lightning series takes us. Hopefully 7 games, because might be the best preliminary round matchup we get, first or second round. It's going to be awesome, and I'm going to be watching every game. So you can follow us on Twitter at Strictly Sports P, on Facebook and Instagram at Strictly Sports Productions. Look us up on YouTube at Strictly Sports Productions. All the podcasts are separated into playlists. Strictly Yankees coming out this week. Strictly Baseball. Steve and I are going to record either tomorrow or Wednesday. Then we got Strictly Sports. I don't know when that's coming, but we got to do a draft review and give our thoughts on that. And then Strictly Rangers we just did, so go check it out. All right, so that'll do it. For CJ Ure, Adam Kupferman, and Steve Cashin, I'm Jacob Brown, and we'll see you next time.